It's clobbering time.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Film Freaks Forever! Yay! Hey, and here are the Film Freaks Forever hosts. I'm Mark Jordan Legan.
And I'm Fief Sutton.
And we're feeling super today.
We're feeling super. We're feeling holy superheroes.
Yes, and not so superheroes. We're so excited about today, because of the recent craze with superhero movies.
All they make. The only movies they make are superhero movies.
This must be what it was like in the 50s when Westerns were just everywhere, right?
Yeah, everywhere you went. Everybody made a Western, and it was a bank heist movie, but it was a Western. It was a romance, but it was a Western.
Yeah, and then there were Westerns all over television. And so right now, for better or for worse, because there are a lot of good ones out there, but it is superhero movies, whether it's Wonder Woman or Black Panther or Thor Ragnarok.
And the Marvel ones in particular are doing great.
Yeah, the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy and Justice League and everything. I mean, in fact, here's interesting. In 2017, 5 of the 10 highest grossing films of the year were superhero movies.
Wow. And yet there was a time when superhero movies were just B movies. They were for kids. They were relegated to second run movie houses.
Oh, yeah. And studios looked down on them.
Yes,
they thought they were kind of silly, they thought they were juvenile. And so our job today is to shine a light on, as we said, not so superhero movies. But these almost had to be made to learn the mistakes.
Yes, and I just figure that with if you were to say to Stan Lee in 1975, if you were to say, you know what, by the year 2017, 2018, Marvel Comics will own everything. They will be everywhere. There'll be big stars in the movies. It'd be like if Steve McQueen was playing Iron Man. I mean,
as opposed to when back in the day in the 70s, he was begging people to make these things.
Oh yeah.
In fact, that's just it. And we really, with a lot of love in our heart, we're going to shine a light on these kind of misfires, or near misses, total misses, dumpster fires. These needed to be made so that these shiny big budget hits that are now flying through the skies at your local Cineplex, this had to happen before that. In other words, these films that we're going to talk about, they died for your sins.
Yes.
So these ones were trying to fight the good fight in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, which is kind of what we're going to be going through.
And even in the 60s.
Yes, actually, our first one we're going
to... Obviously, 1965 or 66, was it? The Batman series premiered.
Yes.
And it was huge. I mean, I remember it. I'm that old. But it was huge. It was everywhere. And it was a somewhat tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. It was,
campy.
But
so great.
Lorenzo Semple Jr. was the one that laid the groundwork, the writing of it. And he also wrote The Parallax View, Papillon,
an amazing writer.
Great stuff, including also the 1970s King Kong and Flash Gordon. So it went both ways.
It evened out.
But it was a great movie. But it was produced by William Dozer, and it was considered a sitcom. It was considered a situation comedy without a laugh track.
Yeah, and as Fief said, this may date us a bit, but who the hell cares? When I was very little, I was like 4 or 5 years old, and the Batman TV series was on, and I was hooked. I loved this show, and still do. In fact, recently, Fief has the box set, and we watch it all the time.
They've come out with a new box set a couple of years ago with beautifully remastered, vivid color, just knockout.
And let's be honest, it has one of the greatest theme songs of all time. Yeah, folks, we apologize for putting that earworm in there, but
the great Neil Hefti wrote that song with a great jazz composer. Wonderful
Also-
lyrics, by the way. Wonderful lyrics.
Yes,
Just
yes.
the repeat of the word Batman.
And
over
Neil
over
Hefti
over.
also did the catchy, iconic Odd Couple theme song.
Yes.
But
He was-
that song, oh my God, I would hear that playing and run down in my little Batman pajamas. I also went out and got the Batman pajamas. But so this show was so much more popular than they thought it was going to become. I mean, everyone in Hollywood wanted to be on it. You know, Sammy Davis Jr. made cameo appearances. Jerry Lewis, very famous people played the villains, obviously. And it just really took the whole world by storm. And because of the show's massive popularity, other countries started to want to make anything to have to do with superheroes. Right. And just one more little tip of the cap to the TV series. And in fact, I know you can't see this because this is a podcast, but Fife is actually wearing an Adam West Batman t-shirt. And by the way, folks, we want to explain, we're going to go down the rabbit hole today and shine a light, as we said, on some of these kind of near misses and misses and such. The superhero genre, obviously down the line in a future podcast, we're going to do a whole thing just on Batman, because even before the Adam West thing, there were serials made.
There were serials of Batman.
Yeah, so we're going to do the whole thing, and we'll talk about every single Batman movie and all that.
He was originally called The Batman.
Yes, he was a detective more than anything else.
Yeah, he was a detective.
Yeah.
He was a great detective.
But we'll go through all of that. This is a very different kind of podcast for the superhero genre, but we just want you to know that, and because we could just talk about Batman alone for hours. But one of the great things about the TV show was Burt Ward as the Boy Wonder and all of his great catchphrases.
Holy, here we go again, Batman. Holy whiskers! Holy birthday cake! Holy headache! Holy ball and chain! Holy triple feature! Holy slip disc! Holy known, unknown flying objects!
You could just keep listening to him forever.
Sadly, the Holy Slip Disc was very relatable.
As, of course, Burt Ward as Robin, the Boy Wonder.
Yes. But as we said, so that show just took the world by storm, and all around the world, people just started to want to make superhero entertainment. And one of the oddest ones has to be this franchise.
The Three Fantastic Supermen, an Italian, actually called I Fantastici Tre Supermen. I'm butchering the Italian.
Oh, our Italian listeners, please just take it out on Fife Sutton.
1967 superhero movie directed by Gianfranco Parolini, who directed a lot of the Sabata westerns
and Hercules movies and Samson movies.
Commissar X,
which was a very popular
franchise.
Yes.
It was the first in a series of 3 Superman movies.
And they made 5 of them. That's how successful they were.
Yeah. And they weren't really super. They were just sort of, they wore costumes and went around and beat people up and were secret agents and
they had, as you said, they wore capes, they wore tights. That's what's so interesting about these movies, the 3 Superman movies. It was a weird blend of superhero and James Bond stuff. In fact, it's just like they threw a bunch of stuff into a blender. But to be honest, they're a lot of fun. They really are.
Oh, yeah.
And the colors are vivid, just like the Batman TV show.
There was a stuntman in it named Aldo Conti who played the mute guy, who you would jump on a trampoline and jump out of a 20-story high window.
Yes.
And just do it. He just did it.
He did incredible stunts. And Aldo Conti was his real name. Sometimes he was credited on screen as Nick Jordan. And this guy's life, he was a real-life convicted mafia thief, and they released him from prison in order to appear in the movie. Now, how's that?
That's pretty great. That's pretty great. And, of course, it had a happy ending. No, it didn't.
No, it didn't, because poor Aldo Conti, he was an actual member of the mafia.
He was an organizer of a clandestine gambling dens called the Band of Magliani, which I love that name.
Yeah, and then I guess he wasn't giving the mob their share of these.
Something went on.
Yeah, he had a gambling debt, and he was later shot in the head in a gangland hit, and his body was found in a park in Rome in 1990.
So that wasn't a very fantastic superhero ending for him.
No, and it's too bad he didn't have the bulletproof superhero costume over his
Yes,
head.
yes.
But here's the amazing thing. The cast would change throughout these 5 movies.
Yes.
Brad Harris was in some, and then he wasn't. But they would change the leads a lot. But these films, like after the first one, they went to Tokyo. They went to the West. They went to the Orient. And the one that we have some great sound clips from was the third one in the franchise. And it's called Three Supermen in the Jungle. And this one was released in 1970. And this first clip from Three Supermen in the Jungle, one of the Supermen is getting married, but their mission is so important that their boss interrupts his wedding to try and get him to go on this mission.
Before you carry on, you should pick the jail you prefer to spend your honeymoon in.
Claptrap. You have no right to make me wait now. Nobody has.
You're the only person we can use as a replacement for Warren because you're the one man who knows the 2 Supermen.
The 2 what?
The mission I want you for, Captain Scott, is something so vital that only you and the 2 Supermen will be able to do it. You've got to cooperate.
They are not going to be very cooperative, not after the way you treated us at Tokyo. And besides, where the blazes are they?
It seems nobody knows.
Well, your mission needs 3 Supermen, and you only have 1 Superman. So long, Colonel. I may send you a postcard from Honolulu.
I like that one of them, he just wants to get married, damn it. He doesn't want to save the other 2 superheroes.
And obviously it was dubbed.
Oh, yes.
But the thing about people don't realize about Italian movies in the 60s and 70s is they were shot without sound.
Right.
So they're dubbed even when you watch it in Italian, it's still dubbed. and they were often different actors doing the different voices. The same actor didn't do the visuals, they did the voice and all that sort of thing. It was always dubbed. So when people say, I don't want to watch that dubbed movie, actually, well, it's all dubbed. It's always dubbed. And
Well, these certainly are.
When Fellini did it, he used to, from a long distance, he'd shoot actors and he'd tell them, just say numbers, just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll dub in the dialogue later. It's crazy.
It's a crazy. So, yeah, but that dialogue, oh my gosh. And so, of course, he then is convinced that you have to go and help save the other 2 superheroes. And he meets his friends, and they're in the jungle. And here's some more great dialogue from 3 Supermen in the Jungle.
You'll have to be more careful. We're in the jungle now, not on the streets of New York. There's danger everywhere. We have to keep our eyes open. And believe me, 2 eyes aren't enough. We'd be better off with 100. Like a spider. Because sudden death is just a step away. Mysterious forces are all around us waiting to pounce. They're liable to turn up everywhere. Every motion, every shadow, every harmless-looking twig or vine may really be a poisonous insect or a snake just waiting to sink its fangs into you. Danger could be right behind everyone, every minute. The first thing you know, what's that? Zap! Then you've been bitten by a black widow spider. So keep your eyes peeled, huh?
I'm scared of the jungle.
It's the worst travel agent ever.
And of course, I hope you heard the jungle drums playing.
Of course.
Behind
And it wouldn't be a jungle movie if at some point somebody doesn't end up getting cooked in a pot, literally in a big pot.
You're right, like a New Yorker cartoon from
Yeah.
1970.
Yes.
They always had the safari explorers end up as
With the cannibals.
Yes, in a giant pot of soup. And of course, this movie does it just as well. And our 3 Supermen all end up. And let's hear this next clip.
Soup, roast beef, and dessert, you said. Remarkable intuition. You should get a medal.
We know it was a tribe of cannibals. I was right about one thing. I was right about a restaurant being marked on a map. But I didn't expect to be on the menu.
Oh, man. And so, yes, so between tribal villages and warriors, they also battle evil Russians who are looking for uranium in the jungle. This movie has everything.
They actually do the Russian dance.
Yes, of course. They stop everything.
And the whole
And they do the kneeling down and Russian dance. But this movie, like all the 3 Fantastic Superman movies, they just have everything.
Just everything in it.
Everything. Comedy, action, romance. They are a lot of fun. And as we said, as these films were doing really well in Europe and elsewhere.
I would like to point out, just as a side, I looked at IMDb, and there was a movie made in the Philippines called Batman and Robin, and it was obviously a ripoff of the Batman and Robin TV series, but it's listed in IMDb as being made in 1965, and the Batman TV series didn't premiere until 1966, so it's either proof of time travel or maybe IMDb doesn't always get it right.
That's true. That's true. But another country that then embraced all the superhero pop culture stuff that was going on is Turkey. And here's the thing. You know, when FIFA and I started through places like Cinephile, that great video store in Los Angeles, when we started being able to get our hands on some like really undiscovered chestnuts, they had a whole shelf of these Turkish films from the 70s. Somebody had money in Turkey in the 70s, and they wanted to invest in movies.
They would take characters from American movies, and I don't think they paid the rights for anything.
Oh, no, never.
Or even did any research on them. I mean, the first ever Captain America feature film with Captain America in it is a Turkish movie called Ok Dev Adam, Three Dev Adam, which means either Three Mighty Men.
Three Giant Men.
Whatever.
It's one of the strangest movies ever made. And here's the point. Somebody went to America from Istanbul, and they just probably went to a comic book store or whatever, and they bought a bunch of stuff that was popular, and came home.
And so it has Captain America, Santo, the Mexican wrestler, and Spider-Man. But they didn't know that Spider-Man was a good guy. They figured he's got a spider on him, so he must be a villain. So this Spider-Man is so villainous.
He's criminally insane.
He's absolutely criminally insane.
Not only is he the villain, the film opens with evil Spider. And by the way, because it's Turkey in the 70s, and they want you to understand that he's a bad guy, on the outside of Spider-Man's costume, he has big bushy eyebrows.
Yeah, the bushy eyebrows that stick out.
Yeah, so that you know he's a villain. And the movie opens with him and his gang of criminals burying a woman up to her neck on the beach, and then they back up the motor of a powerboat into her face.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man chuckles wildly. Spider-Man, oh God. Anyway, this movie, you have to see it to believe it.
And they would lift music from American movies, so that all of a sudden you hear the theme from Diamonds Are Forever is being played.
Yeah, they didn't care. And that's just it. They went on to make a Turkish version of E.T. They went on to make a Turkish version of Star Wars, where they just used actual clips from Star Wars aside from everything else they made. And I think their attitude back then in the 70s was, you want to sue us? Come to Turkey and try and find us.
You have to try and find us, yes.
And so this movie. Oh, and in fact, at one point, there's a great scene where Spider-Man just like jumps out from behind a place and stabs somebody to death, and then says, "Adios, mafia." And
there is a wonderful sequence where a guy is being tortured. Spider-Man is torturing a man, and it's the old 1984 idea of putting the box up to his face, a tube up to his face, and releasing a bunch of ravenous rats at him to eat his eyes. Except they aren't rats.
No,
they're the cutest little guinea pigs ever.
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
they put them in there, and they try and make it look scary, and it is just hilariously funny.
And here's the thing, this film has grown, has quite a cult following among real film nuts like us and film freaks. And but here's the thing: aside from it being subtitled, FIFA and I were so hardcore. We watched the entire movie years ago
without subtitles,
in Turkish
or dubbing. You just watched it and
enjoyed it.
You could follow it. You could follow it fine.
But it was all in Turkish, no subtitles. And now finally, there are copies of this that are subtitled.
There's no copies of it that are dubbed, though.
No. And so this is a Film Freaks Forever first. FIFA and I are now going to recreate a scene from 3 Dev Adam, 1973. And we're just going to do a short piece of dialogue here from 3 Dev Adam, and we're going to try and do it in our best dubbed type voices.
This is the conversation in the back of a cab, I guess, with between
Captain
America and his agent, his operator.
Yes.
Because they were also spies, by the way.
And by the way, this is the actual, this is what is on the screen as subtitles, so we're not changing a word.
Okay. I have another question. Why are you putting on masks and outfits during duty?
Spider is a child-minded lunatic. He always wears a mask. When he sees someone else wearing a mask, he wants to destroy them. My special outfit is bulletproof.
I see.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our audio engineer and musician extraordinaire, Dan Radlauer, is giving us a standing ovation on the other side of the glass. And also kind of shaking his head with a look of pity.
But the thing is the actor-writer Dogan Tamer, who wrote this, explained the 4 necessary elements for profitable Turkish action films in the 70s. They were violence, sex, sadism, and heroism. And this has all 4.
Boy, it really does. It has sadism. Spider-Man does some terrible things.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple taking a shower and he attacks them. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah, he just strangles her.
Boy.
I could never look at Topher Grace in the same way. Topher Grace.
Well, yeah. You never know where a Topher Grace reference is going to pop up. So, but as we said, then the Turkish film industry made all these other ripoffs. And then, oddly, as late as 1989, they made a movie called Alias Batman and Robin. And it's a Turkish film, but they also brought over some stars from Indonesia, and it's this weird potpourri. And the thing wasn't even released till 1991, and then I think it's really kind of disappeared because of legal reasons, they had no rights to it. And there's the Joker, and there's the Penguin, and all this stuff. But this is a perfect example of how they didn't care about getting rights to anything. We're not going to share with you a song that just comes on during like a training montage in Alias Batman and Robin. And obviously the filmmakers said, you know what? I really like the music to Surfing Safari. Gee, should we get the rights from Brian Wilson?
I don't think we have to do that.
Screw Brian Wilson. And yet they added their own special lyrics.
Wow. Why didn't Christopher Nolan use that song?
Oh, my God. They actually improved on Surfing Safari.
It's amazing.
Praise the Lord, Batman and Robin.
Praise the Lord, Batman and Robin, I think is my favorite line.
Oh, wow.
There is, by the way, I again, in searching through Wikipedia and all this, there's actually a town in Turkey called Batman. I mean, it's not named after Batman. It just sounds like, but it's written like Batman.
Well, you should go because you're wearing your Batman shirt. Maybe you'd be greeted as the new mayor.
Maybe I'd be stoned.
Yes.
Because they
stoned to death, not like smoking the reefer.
I get high on life, my friend. I get high on life.
I don't know about him, but I need some of that reefer when we watch some of this stuff. That's a disclaimer. It's all medicinal. I need it for my back.
Yeah, I know,
Anyway,
I know.
So as this stuff is kind of limping along, the superhero genre it's like, oh, God, what's going to work? What's not going to work? But then I'm sure as many of you will remember, in 1978 in America, The Incredible Hulk not only appeared on television, it was a massive hit.
It was a big hit. It was a huge hit. It was the first inkling of the fact that you could do a superhero story and treat it kind of seriously and do it sort of realistic and make with a little bit of heart and all that. And because the creator of the show, Kenneth Johnson, he'd been given by Frank Price the rights to develop a deal for any Marvel comic book.
Right.
And he didn't like comic books. He didn't like any of them. But then he thought, he was reading Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. And he thought, my God, I could do the Incredible Hulk as Jean Valjean in Les Miserables, which is what it is.
It is.
And of course, it's also The Fugitive, but he didn't mention that.
But Bill Bixby, who we love.
He's great in it. And he played Dr. David Banner.
Yeah.
He was called Bruce Banner in the comic book. And they changed it. Why did they change it? Well, it's sort of,
We've grown a lot as a society. You know what's weird is Bruce was kind of an effeminate name. It was in the 50s and 60s. It was almost a punchline.
I think it started because it sounded like a tough name, and so in jokes it was like Bruce. I mean, so that
Come in, Bruce.
And it became that thing that
Whatever.
sound-
It was really a dumb reason to change it, but they changed it. And then, of course, let's be honest. Once Bruce Springsteen came along, it became a whole different thing.
And of course, they claim that the creator of the show didn't like the alliterative sound of Bruce Banner, or he claimed that he named him after his son, David.
Yes.
But now, whatever.
And then, of course, apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger auditioned and didn't get the part.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I believe that's true. But then Lou Ferrigno, of course.
Yes.
Because to be honest, this show, I think they made the backdoor 2-hour pilot in 1977, but then the series itself premiered in 1978. It ran for 5 seasons, and they made over 80 episodes. In fact, here's a little trip down memory lane. Here's an actual promo for television from 1978 for The Incredible Hulk.
It started as a nuclear experiment, and now David Banner is a man alone, pursued by danger and fear. Because whenever he is angered, the unleashed rage transforms him. Will David find a cure to control the Incredible Hulk?
Friday night at 8 on TV 8.
Oh, those local announcers. But also because of that popularity, CBS desperately wanted to find something to match it with.
And they thought, Doctor Strange.
And in our research, we came upon a 1978 TV movie of Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, a very... I mean...
The lead is miscast.
The lead is miscast.
Nothing against Peter Hooton. But Peter Hooton plays Doctor Strange. Now, here's the interesting thing about Peter Hooton. In 1978, it was quite a year for him because he gets the lead in this 2-hour backdoor pilot movie as Doctor Strange. And in the very same year, he's one of the main guys in the original Inglourious Bastards.
Well, which has since then become kind of a well-known movie.
Oh, yeah, because of Quentin Tarantino. But my point is that, hey, I'm working. This is great. And boy, is he a drip in at least Doctor Strange.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This was made in 1978. Was it before Star Wars or after Star Wars?
After Star Wars.
It was after Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because that explains the presence of the great actor John Mills as the head sorcerer who teaches Doctor Strange his stuff. As I think after Alec Guinness did Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, all the great English stage actors thought, I could do that. So, there was Ralph Richardson in Dragon Slayer, and there was endless. And
Nicole Williamson is in Excalibur.
Right.
Yeah.
And
then Sir John Mills said, hey, I'll do Doctor Strange. Why not?
Why not?
This was about 8 years after his Academy Award. He was a great actor. But in 1970, he won Best Supporting Actor for David Lean's Ryan's Daughter.
Wonderful performance.
Yes, and of course, he is the father of Haley Mills, who was a huge star in the 60s and 70s.
Right. And he was in Which We Serve, right? And
good. He's in the 1939 Goodbye, Mr. Chips. I mean, here's the other thing. He had a nice long life. He lived to be 97.
That's right.
And he's so damn good in David Lean's adaptation of Great Expectations.
Yeah, that's one of the best movies.
He's in one of your favorite films. I love it too, but you're a huge Tunes of Glory fan.
Oh, I love that movie. I love that movie.
And of course, he's fondly remembered by many as John Mills is the dad in Disney's live-action Swiss Family Robinson.
That's right.
Which is a wonderful adventure film. He had a very interesting career. He was a great stage actor too, of course. And you know what? To be honest, he gives it his all in Doctor Strange.
He gives it his all, but they don't tell the story right. I mean, Doctor Strange has got a great origin story. He's a neurosurgeon, and he either loses his hands or he loses the use of his hands, and he goes and he searches through the Eastern medicine to find none of that.
No,
in
this movie, it seems that Doctor Strange loses his acting talent. But here's the thing: the villainess is played by none other than Jessica Walter,
who is quite wonderful as Morgan Le Fay.
Yes, and of course, people will remember her. Oh my God, and Play Misty for Me. She is amazing. And even now, God bless her, she's still working, and she's great as the matriarch in Arrested Development.
And in Archer, too.
She's one of the main voice people in that. And
She does great work, and she's pretty good too.
She's pretty good too. And in fact, our first clip from Doctor Strange, Morgan Le Fay is meeting with her boss, who is a disembodied red floating head.
Yeah, sort of an oddly, maybe it's CG, maybe it's a stop motion animation thing. I don't know. You can't quite figure out what it is.
But here they're kind of going over their work plan.
Master.
Raise your head and look up on me. Would it please you to be of service to me again?
It would please me.
500 years ago, you failed me, Morgan. You allowed the greatest of the sorcerers on earth to overcome you. My victory was denied to me because of you.
Long ages have I contemplated my revenge. This time I will not fail.
Then I will send you into the world you have been exiled from. Find your enemy under the ancient symbol of light. He has read the signs and worked his calculations, and he will be prepared for you. The time now comes when he must pass on the powers entrusted to him. He grows old and weary of the burdens of his life on earth. Destroy the old man before the powers are past, and victory will be ours.
Well, that sets up the whole story. Then.
It really does. You know, her boss, though, very phlegmy. I think he needed to clear his throat, or he needed a lozenge or something.
You couldn't say that to him, though, because you don't want to insult him.
And he was really throwing Morgan Le Fay under the bus.
Oh,
he was blaming her for everything. What about his management?
Yeah, I know. So bringing up that Merlin thing again after all these years.
But that's relatable.
Let it rest.
To the audience, it's relatable.
Oh, yeah.
If you're mid-management, I'm always getting the blame.
Always.
But so again, and so Sir John, FIFA's right, though. It has nothing to do with the comic book.
Doctor Strange is a psychiatrist in this. That's a good change from a neurosurgeon. All those exciting
and he's a terrible psychiatrist.
Yeah, and he gets involved with the sorcerer just kind of because.
Yeah, and then this next clip, Sir John Mills as kind of the sorcerer.
Yeah.
He's going to explain everything to Doctor Strange about the dreams that Doctor Strange has been having.
Yes.
To kind of bring them together to fight evil.
Where have you seen me before?
Last night, I had an odd sort of dream. This young woman was in it. So were you.
What happened in the dream?
She pushed you over a railing. And someone else was there, another woman.
Doctor, do you know what a psychic bond is?
What it sounds like, I suppose.
The events you just described actually took place yesterday afternoon. I wasn't hurt in the accident, but clear I didn't know that. Understandably, it was a tremendous shock to her. It's not surprising she should recall the events in a dream.
But you don't understand. It was my dream.
But that's impossible, isn't it? You looked in on her dream, in a sense. There would appear to be a psychic bond between you.
This is kind of interesting, though. The female lead in this film, at the time, the credit for this movie reads Eddie Benton, and then she later changed her name to Anne-Marie Martin, and a lot of people remember she was the co-star of the 80s comedy Sledgehammer. But that's still not the most interesting thing. She ended up marrying Michael Crichton.
Right.
And they were married for over 15 years.
The
they
author of Lost World and Jurassic
Park and Coma and no, that's Robin Cook.
He directed Coma. He directed the movie of Coma, though.
Yes.
And
Disclosure.
Westworld, and endless Andromeda Strain.
Yeah. They had a child together. They were married for over 15 years. And I guess while they were married, Michael Crichton and his wife, Anne-Marie Martin, or a.k.a. Eddie Benton, they have a co-writing screenplay credit for Twister.
One of the great screenplays of all time.
With dialogue like, look, a twister. It's just odd. And she tries her best in this movie, but this movie really just kind of lays there aside from Sir John Mills. And but we enjoyed watching it because it pales in comparison to the latest Doctor Strange.
The one with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes, and Tilda Swinton.
And Tilda Swinton and that actor whose name only you can pronounce.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Thank you. And
that's my NPR training, by the way. I had to learn how to say his name properly.
And which is it's a really fun movie.
Yeah.
But this movie does not have much of that.
And in our final clip, we'll just leave you with some more 1978 Doctor Strange killer dialogue.
I'm going to send you on a journey into the astral planes, which are other dimensions of manifestation existing within and beyond the material plane. Dreaming is a form of astral travel on the lower planes, where it's harmless. Unfortunately, Cleo's consciousness has gone on to the higher planes as a result of the shock she experienced when evil took possession of her. She's lost. She literally can't find her way back.
And I'm supposed to find her.
The psychic link between you will lead your astral body to hers and keep you with her for the journey back. The ring will serve to protect you. On the higher planes, certain beings exist which are not always friendly. The ring should persuade them to keep their distance. If anything should approach you, or if there's any danger at all, I want you to say exactly these words. In the name of Rael, scourge of demons, I command you, begone. Say it.
In the name of Rael, scourge of demons, I command you, begone.
Must be exactly those words.
I know I'd get those words wrong. I know
And you'd lose the ring.
Oh, of course I'd lose the ring. First thing.
Oh, so again, CBS tried with that. It didn't work, and they kept trying.
They tried again.
But you know what? Before we get into that, Fief, here at Film Freaks Forever, just like almost any podcast, we have to pay the bills.
We do. We have to pay the bills and do a commercial.
That's right. And we are so pleased that our sponsor for Film Freaks Forever is Final Draft.
It's amazing. I actually use this.
Yes,
use this.
We both use it, and we're so happy to have them. And folks, Final Draft has been the #1 selling screenwriting application in the world for over 25 years. Final Draft automatically formats scripts to industry standards, allowing writers to do what they do best, tell stories. Final Draft is the professional's choice and the industry standard used by filmmakers such as Oscar winners James Cameron and Aaron Sorkin. And their newest release, Final Draft 10, offers great new features like the beat board and story map that help you build your story from the ground up. Final Draft also offers reader and writer apps for iPhone and iPad, making creativity truly portable. And Final Draft is happy to offer 30% off to listeners of our podcast. Just go to www.finaldraft.com and use code WBPodcast at checkout.
That's right. And I use Final Draft. I wrote the screenplay for The Fan with Robert De Niro on Final Draft. Don't hold that against it. but I did.
But yeah, we thank you, Final Draft, for believing in film freaks everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're going to jump back in because, again, CBS didn't stop trying.
They tried in 1979. They did 2 movies with Captain America.
That's right. 2 of them. And they were aired in the same year of 1979. And
they starred Reb Brown. And they were kind of embarrassed by the fact that it was Captain America because it was the 70s.
It was the late 70s. There was all this cynicism
and all that. So that their idea of Captain America, we'll make him more like Evel Knievel.
Yes,
he looks like Evel Knievel riding his motorcycle. And at one point, the doctor said, because in this one, his father was the original Captain America.
Yeah.
This is the son of Captain America.
I guess
They give him the drug, which they have the clever nickname, the clever formula, full latent ability gain, which is called the flag formula. So they give him that, and it gives him superpowers.
There's long, endless shots of his custom van driving through canyon roads.
Because he's kind of a hippie. He's an artist.
Yes.
And when his handler says, your father was a great superhero who fought the evil, no good Nicks, and they nicknamed him Captain America as a kind of an insult, but he wore it with pride. So they were kind of really trying to force in the idea of patriotism. They were kind of embarrassed by the whole idea of the patriotic
They should have been
image.
embarrassed by the script and Red Brown's performance. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Captain America and 3 Dev Adam is better than Red Brown's Captain America. In this movie. I'm just sorry. Red Brown looks sedated. And by the way, folks, if you go, Red Brown, that sounds familiar. Red Brown was one of the leads in Space Mutiny, one of the space operas we featured in our very first podcast.
So this is a return of Red Brown, and I wouldn't have thought he'd be the one of the people that would come up twice in our podcast.
And also, I can't believe that they still kept him as Captain America in the second one. Red Brown probably peaked in Your Hunter from the Future in 1983. He was very good in that. But
I like the fact that, by the way, in the 2 movies they have Heather Menzies is the scientist's assistant in this one, and then the second one it's Connie Selica. So they replaced Heather Menzies like she was the problem.
Yeah, but not
Heather
Red
Menzies
Brown
was
or
fine.
any of the other things. Now, the one clip that we're going to play from the first Captain America TV movie that appeared on CBS, this is to show you how they were trying to shake things up. Captain America, as Fief said, he's like a sensitive artist. And here he's sketching on the beach, but explaining the curse of being Captain America to his friend.
Not bad. You've got talent.
It's what I had in mind for maybe the rest of my life. Till I met you. It's different now.
How does it make you feel, Steve? Being, well, more than other men?
Frightened?
Not exhilarated?
Well, that too, sure. But it's scary and a big responsibility. If I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, I could hurt or kill somebody. If I move this pencil too quickly, or hold it too tightly, how would you feel, Simon?
I understand. And I also can't help thinking how your father would have felt seeing his life's work coming to fruition in his own son.
I never knew him well enough to be able to make a judgment on that.
He was truly the most patriotic man I ever knew.
Oh my God! If Captain America isn't careful, he can snap a pencil in two.
Yes, and also the flag serum makes him take long pauses when he talks.
Yes, and continuously drive a van. And by the way, the sequel, he just keeps driving that van. The only interesting thing about the sequel, and we'll play this clip quickly, the villains at least have a good idea.
Well, and also the villains are played by Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Who is wonderful, of course.
The great Christopher Lee.
Stanley Camel, who many of you remember as the psychiatrist from the Monk series.
Yes.
They have a good plan.
Their plan is they have a gas that they're going to spray all over the city of Portland.
I don't know why they picked Portland.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I guess so.
Portland was asking for it.
I guess so.
So, and in this clip, you will hear the diabolical plan.
Breaker, breaker. This is Skyrider. Attention, citizens of Portland. You are at this moment breathing a gas that causes extreme rapid aging in humans. The antidote is available to your government for a price. So you are advised to contact the authorities immediately.
Rapidly aging gas. I have that sometimes.
I know.
After we eat deli.
Yeah, you can take something for
But can you imagine Portland would be full of rapidly aging hipsters?
It is filled with rapidly aging hipsters.
So this movie was predicting the future.
It does. It does.
Because this was only, what, 1979?
1979.
But listen, these didn't work. They did not make Captain America into a TV series.
And all of them do have Stan Lee as the producer. Stan Lee,
consultant.
He's waiting for this. He's trying and trying and trying and trying, and he tried again. In 1990.
A feature film now.
A feature film of Captain America starring Matt Salinger, who is
J.D. Salinger's son.
The son of the author of Catcher in the Rye and Franny and Zoe.
Yes. And listen, folks, this movie, well, I got to say, compared to the Red Brown ones, this movie actually is somewhat entertaining.
Yeah, and it tells the story of Captain America.
Yes.
Kind of compresses it.
But it also has... It has a lot of problems, this movie.
It has a lot of problems.
But it also has a pretty good supporting cast.
Yes,
right?
So it has Ronnie Cox.
As President of the United States.
Right.
Melinda Dillon.
Ned Beatty.
Yes.
Michael Nuri. Darren McGavin.
The great Darren McGavin.
And Bill Mummy, the kid from Lost in Space, who plays Darren McGavin as a young man.
Yes.
So the same character is played by Bill Mummy or Moomey, I'm not sure
I think
which
it's
is.
Bill Moomey.
Bill Moomey,
yes.
Excuse me, and Darren McGavin.
Yes. I think it's McGeevan. I'm kidding.
Oh, no,
I'm kidding. But here's the point. As we watch this movie, Fief and I just love the fact, we just love knowing that J.D. Salinger had to sit through this.
And say to his son, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
That was a movie. You know what? That was a movie.
And by the way, the other odd thing about this film, it was directed by Albert Pyun. And Albert Pyun has made some of the most batshit crazy films ever.
He is called sort of the new Ed Wood.
Yeah, because he made Alien from L.A., which we saw with Kathy Ireland. He made Knights, spelled Knigts. Remember that Chris Christopherson, Lance Henriksen post-apocalyptic film we sat through?
Yeah.
He made Kickboxer 2.
He made a lot of kickboxer movies.
But I got to tell you, the one thing this film does have is the guy who plays Red Skull gives 100%.
Yes.
He really, really tries. In our first clip, we're going to go down into the lab where the U.S. government is transforming Steve Rogers into what will become Captain America.
Because of you, I have the chance to make a wrong thing right. I thank you for that.
Commencing stage 1.
So this process can take a frail boy with polio, give him the strength and speed of a world-class athlete. Think what kind of army we'll have.
Let's just make sure our boy comes out of this safe and sound before we go counting our chickens.
Where'd you get your guinea pig?
Happens to be the best damn candidate out of 600 volunteers.
It's gonna be a national hero.
Stand by for move to
Not
stage
exactly.
2.
His name's a secret. Only Dr. Vaselli and myself know who he really is. We kept it that way to protect his family. For the rest of the world, he's just codenamed Captain America. He may not be Superman, but he'll be a living symbol of what this country stands for.
Yes.
And I always kind of wondered, why did they take a frail, sickly guy and give him this? Why didn't they take a really fit guy and give him this stuff so he would be even more fit than that? I mean, why did they start? I don't know. I was always puzzled by that.
It works in the recent Captain America films.
But it's still. Well, why did they take that? Why didn't they take
I
fit,
hear you.
beautiful guy, and make him even a stronger guy? It makes,
when you meet Stan Lee, you can ask him.
I will ask him. Actually,
he'll gut punch you.
Well, he didn't create Captain America.
No,
that
that's
was
true.
Created long before him. But anyway.
Yeah.
Red Skull, of course, is very good. He only looks like Red Skull in the first scene.
Yes, then he has plastic surgery
because the director felt that people didn't want to look at a Red Skull all the way through the movie. So and of course, comic book geeks do want to look at a Red Skull.
Red Skull's Red Skull, for God's sakes. But now I got to say something. This movie, though, they felt they needed to up the ante about how evil Red Skull was. So Listen to this. By the way, so this is a meeting of like Red Skull and all his other evil connections throughout the world. So you're going to hear Darren McGavin, he's almost like a double agent. He acts like he's all good and nice to the government, but he's secretly...
And he's a member of the military, so that whole thing.
But here, he can't wait to destroy Captain America. And then you're going to hear a bad English accent, so we have an evil British diplomat sitting around this table. But when you hear the Red Skull's voice, and I don't even know if it's Russian or German or Eastern European accent that he's doing, wait till you hear how evil he is.
You gentlemen gave me assistance, so now how may I help you? I understand you face a little threat from this American president.
No, thank you. If Kimball ain't stopped, you're gonna see everything that you worked for and planned for the last 30 years go right down the crapper. And so fast it'll make your head spin.
Aren't you being a little dramatic, General?
No, he's not.
Cut the crap. All I want to know is when we're gonna kill the little son of a bitch. And how.
We don't kill him at all.
We don't?
No. Assassination isn't worth the trouble. It took me 2 years to find Sirhan, 3 to find Oswald. The King job alone cost us over $22 million. And what do we get for all our pains? Saints. Martyrs to the cause.
So let me get this straight. So Red Skull was responsible for the assassination of JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King.
Yes!
That's terrible. Why did the conspiracy theorists know about this?
That's a villain.
That is a villain.
I love the British accent, by the way.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I loved it when we killed Kennedy.
Right.
Are we out of crumpets?
Wow.
This song even has a power ballad.
Yeah, that's what this is what we like about quirky, weird films, is something will come along, they'll make Fifa and I just look at each other like, are we hallucinating? So in the middle of Captain America, and by the way, this is like a long, tedious travel montage of Steve Rogers hitchhiking and sitting in the back of a truck. They decide to hit us with a power ballad.
And it's by Southside Johnny.
Yeah, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, one of the greatest bands that come out of Jersey. They played with Bruce Springsteen all the time.
Yeah.
And I understand a gig's a gig. Here's Southside Johnny singing his heart out.
And a lot of people like this song.
Yeah.
Long, long time ago, there was a time, a special place where I just don't know. I'm all alone in a cold, cold world. It's hard, but I'm still trying. I got to find that special girl to warm this heart of mine.
Oh, he's all alone in a cold, cold world.
I know.
He's a sensitive Captain America.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now, this, by the way, the picture was written by Lawrence Block, who I assume is not the Lawrence Block who wrote the Matthew Scudder novels and is one of the great crime fiction writers alive. But I don't know. I mean, I couldn't find anything much about him. Maybe it's him.
Oh, you know what?
You gotta pay the rent.
One little editor's note. You know, when we were talking in the beginning about, when superhero movies finally, were popping and doing great, we really have to go back to 2002 when Sam Raimi made that Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire.
Yes,
no, that was the start of like a huge amount of money. It was well done.
And it was a big budget. It was well done.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is, so this Captain America feature film that we're talking about with Matt Salinger, listen, it has its fans, believe it or not. It actually does. And it's out on Blu-ray now, for God's sakes.
Yes.
That was made in 1990, and then I think it had some problems, and then maybe it was finally released in 1992, just to kind of keep track of the world of superheroes and movies. While they were making this rather dreary Captain America, Sam Raimi was also making an unconventional superhero movie the same year, and we're huge fans of it, and that's Darkman.
Yes, yes.
With Liam Neeson, and I really love that film. I just wanted for people to be able to kind of gauge
I'd
while they were
forgotten about that
making
one.
this Captain America with a power ballad. Now, unless I haven't seen Dark Man in a while, I don't think it has a power ballad.
It might, though. I don't know.
In a dark, dark, dark man. I don't know.
And then in 1994,
Yes.
there was a man named Ole Sassoon who had the rights.
Well,
somehow.
no, he was the director, Ole Sassoon.
Right.
Actually, let's go back. 1983, a German producer named Bernd Eichinger.
Okay, Bernd Eichinger. That's
He
right.
met with Stan Lee in Lee's house to beg him to get an option for the movie rights of the Fantastic Four. And as Steve was saying, in 1983, there ain't nothing going on for Marvel and movies.
No, and it's just and also the Fantastic Four are probably the least filmic of the Marvel ones. I mean, you know, the stretchy guy. It's really hard to do the stretchy guy.
Yeah,
It's
and
really,
the Thing is orange rocks.
Yeah, you can do that maybe, but you know, the stretchy guy is really hard to pull off. They don't do the stretchy guy well. They do it okay in the new Flash the new Flash TV series with the elongated man, but they make it kind of a joke.
Yeah.
It's hard to do the stretchy guy.
Well, especially back in 1983 when there's no computer, there's no CGI.
No.
And again, they didn't have a budget. Anyway, so this guy has the rights and he keeps the rights and nothing's going on and he's not making the movie. And so he realized that the option was running out. So he was going to make a Fantastic Four film no matter what.
Yes, because if he made the movie, he could keep the rights.
Yes.
So he just wanted to make anything and call it the Fantastic Four.
Right. So in 1992, he approaches the great B movie filmmaker Roger Corman.
Roger Corman and says, "Hey, couldn't I make this?" And Roger Corman says, "Sure, why not?"
But we have to make it for $1 million.
We have to make it for $1 million, and we can't afford much of a cast, and we can't afford any special effects.
And by the way, so they made this thing for $1 million in 1992, and I think they had a 25-day shoot.
And
it looks like it was made for $100.
Yeah, it wasn't released.
No, this thing is famously unreleased. It's kind of a holy grail for a lot of people to try and track down.
You can find it in bootleg versions of it at various video stores.
And I think it's on YouTube also.
And of course it's on YouTube because everything's on YouTube.
But oh my goodness.
It stars Alex Hyde White, who's the son of Wilfred Hyde White,
the great British character actor.
And Joseph Culp, who's the son of Robert Culp.
Wow.
You know, they had the sons of good people in it anyway.
Yeah. Now here's the odd thing. Once they made it, everyone kind of looked at it and went, "Oh boy." But there are people who went to the movies in 1993 and they saw trailers for this.
Yes.
There were trailers for the Fantastic Four movie. So, you know, comic book nerds and superhero film buffs and all that, everyone was kind of getting excited because you know, people wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And oh boy, there was a tentative release date for Labor Day weekend of 1993.
And then
but
they
just
took a
became
look at
this
it and they pulled it because it isn't a finished movie.
Yeah.
For instance, Dr. Doom has he has a mask on his head, and generally when they film things with people with masks on their heads, the actor will speak with the mask on his head, and then it'll be muffled, and then they'll dub in either his voice or another actor's
Right, they'll
voice,
take
like
care of it in ADR.
Darth Vader and all that sort of thing. They don't do that in this film.
And in fact,
so through the whole film, you cannot understand a word Dr. Doom is saying because he's got the mask on.
Yeah, and we'll play you a clip to prove this, but oh my gosh, this thing. And Fief mentioned, I think, what was his name? Sasson? What was his first name?
Ole Sasson.
Yeah, and this guy was like a music video director, and then like, hey, I'm going to get to make the Fantastic Four. Oh boy. So we're going to play like about 3 clips from the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, which has never been released. In this first clip, the gang is getting together and they're realizing that they're gonna be a group, and let's just play this little bit of dialogue.
Look at you, the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, they figured if they said it,
Yeah. And
you might think they're the Fantastic
that,
Four.
by the way, was the mother of
Sue Storm.
Of Sue Storm and Johnny Torch, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And just very proud of them because they're about to go into space.
Yeah, they sure are. And boy, in this next clip, you're going to hear exactly what Fief was talking about. You just have to take our word for it that this is Dr. Doom, because it's going to be. It sounds like someone's smothering Dr. Doom with a pillow while he's doing this dialogue.
The diamond has been replaced with a man-made replica. Perfect! It seems our little friend has helped me more than I could have dreamed. I don't need to stop this mission now. Now no one will capture Colossus before me, and they can die in space.
Wow. Now, that's odd. His laugh didn't sound muffled.
Well, one thing about villains in movies like this, they always have a great sense of humor.
They enjoy their work.
They enjoy their work, and they really do. And I always think this is the one where the henchman should be constantly saying, "What? Excuse me, what?"
I can't understand a word you're saying.
I really hate to say this, but I didn't quite catch that.
Did you say kill them? Did you say fill them? What? I don't understand, Dr. Doom. Wow. So in this next clip, this is when the Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm is figuring out that they're different now.
They've been through the radiation or whatever, and the explosion of the ship and all that, and now they've landed, and they suddenly realize they have all these powers.
Yeah.
And Johnny is not happy.
No, he's not handling it very well.
But there's no need to panic.
Panic? Panic? Reed, my sister here disappears at the drop of a hat. You stretch like some human rubber band, and I'm a walking blowtorch, and you don't want us to panic? Oh, well, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Sit down, Johnny.
Sit down, Johnny.
Just sit down and shut up, Johnny.
Oh, and look, they try with the thing, but they had no budget, so the orange rock suit looks...
I disagree. I think it looks great. I think it looks wonderful. It's the best thing in the movie.
It might be the best thing in the movie, but that's setting the bar rather low. He kind of looks like Grimace from the McDonald's commercials.
He does. He looks like Grimace from the McDonald's commercials.
Well, speaking of Ben Grimm, a.k.a. The Things, or Grimace, what was his famous phrase?
Well,
I'll see you in court.
No, it wasn't that. No, it was...
Oh, I think we're out of tea.
No, it wasn't that. It was, it's clobbering time.
That's right. That's
clobbering time.
How could I forget that? So we're going to now hear Ben Grimm, a.k.a. The Thing, a.k.a. Grimace, give us his catchphrase.
Let her go. Watch yourself, Mr. Grimm. I can do a lot of damage before you get hit.
Doom, it's clobbering time.
Yeah, so his phrase was, let her go.
No, it was it's clobbering time.
Oh, it's clobbering time, not let her go.
Yeah,
a lot of people say let her go.
A lot of people say let her go. So let's see. But Michael Chiklis probably said it's clobbering time.
Oh, they all have to say it.
And then what was how many versions? They've never gotten it right? They've.
You know what? I'm in the minority. I actually liked the first one, the Tim Story directed one with Michael Chiklis.
And with Ian Griffith.
It was so ripped apart by critics.
Yeah.
When I finally saw it, I thought it wasn't bad. But the sequel with the Silver Surfer is not good.
And then they made another one, didn't
which
they?
is really bad.
Yeah. Does he say it's clobbering time in that one?
Yeah. And then the critics said, it is clobbering time. We're going to clobber you.
For whatever reason. It's funny, some of the X-Men movies are really good. Some of the Wolverine movies. But for some reason, the Fantastic Four seems to be snake bit. They just can't get it right.
And, what we're going to end with now, it's funny that this thing is kind of forgotten because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is big, the TV series. And
of course, there's Samuel Jackson playing Nick Fury in the Avengers movies.
But hey, folks, guess who played Nick Fury first?
Before Samuel Jackson. And when most people think of Samuel Jackson, they think, well, okay, I also think of David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff played a 1998 TV movie, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The Hoffster is wearing an eye patch, and it doesn't affect his hair at all. His hair looks great.
And he did this while he was doing Baywatch. So he was pretty big.
But folks, if you happen to be home on May 26th in 1998, you could have seen this bizarre movie. Fief, tell them who wrote this version of Nick Fury.
Well, that's the funny thing. When you talk about bad quote unquote bad movies and all that, so you tend to think, well, the no talent people who made them, whatever. Lots of times, really talented people make these movies, and either they're early on in their careers or they just didn't. It didn't work. The magic didn't work. This was written by David Goyer, who later on wrote
the Blade trilogy, and The Dark Knight. Yes.
And The Dark Knight Rises and Man of Steel.
Batman Begins.
And
all
Batman
of that.
Begins and all the he is probably one of the main writers of the current super big budget
big
really
box
take
office
it seriously.
hits. Yes.
Big.
I guess he had to learn
superhero
here,
movies,
right?
And he's learning here. Yeah, it was one of his first jobs, and
And boy, I mean, I enjoyed this movie because it was so cheesy and campy.
Yeah.
But boy, the dialogue. Let's give him a little taste, shall we? A little banter here between Nick Fury and a female
and you
spy.
You have to imagine. Okay, so what if Samuel Jackson was saying these lines instead of David Hasselhoff?
All right.
What's this all about?
This is about getting the two of us alone in a room together. Is it true what women say about you?
Well, it depends on if you're talking to one of my ex-wives or my mother.
What's the matter, Colonel? Don't you find me attractive?
Look, there's a lot going on right now. Why don't we just take a rain check on the heavy breathing here?
I'd take it back. I don't even know if Samuel Jackson could make those lines sing.
I don't think he could. And oh man, the female lead in this is Lisa Rinna, who she's married to Harry Hamlin. She was a soap opera actress. She's popular again because she's on one of the Real Housewives reality nightmare shows, and she's really bad in this, running around in her tight little leather outfit. But again, the dialogue is what FIFA and I kept going, wow. And so here's even a little bit more of an example of David S. Goyer learning his trade.
Since I've blown my career now by supporting you, Colonel, maybe you'd satisfy my curiosity. Why did you leave S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I didn't. When the Iron Curtain was sent to the cleaners, I was suddenly out of style. Not diplomatic enough. It's time for me to move on.
Because they changed the rules?
For me, Kate, there never were any rules.
When the Iron Curtain got sent to the cleaners.
And ironically, when the Iron Curtain came down, when the Berlin Wall came down, David Hasselhoff, who was a big star in Germany from Baywatch,
singing,
and singing, he was giving a concert, and for whatever reason, he became a big patriotic symbol of the reunification of Germany. David Hasselhoff. So that there's really some truth to that.
There
to
is.
That speech, to that speech.
The Hoffster. Oh man, wow. And I think we got to go out on some of the greatest dialogue ever written, actually.
Yes.
So here's a little bit more of David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury in the 1998 TV film Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Let's go kick some Hydra butt.
Now, Samuel Jackson could have made that line work.
Let's go kick some Hydra butt. Well, we hope we kick some Hydra butt today.
Yes, and obviously, shortly thereafter,
Well, as we said, about 2002 with Sam Raimi in the first Spider-Man movie.
And then...
which was about 3 years after this.
10 years after this, they did the Iron Man movie. And 7 years after this, David Goyer did Batman Begins. So he was just waiting for it to happen. And I just can't... The Marvel people must just be scratching their heads on why they beat their head against the wall for so long. And they should have given up. And then, boom, it just exploded.
I know. Like it's literally the truth of that. You have to fail and fail and fail to learn how not to.
But also it's the great turnaround of popular culture, because at one time, serious big budget movies were movies like Bridge on the River Kwai and Lawrence of Arabia,
epics,
and little low budget movies like Batman and all that.
Yeah.
And now it's totally turned around. Now the pop culture world is the world, and the comic book culture and the genre culture, all the stuff that when we were kids people looked down their nose at, are the mainstays of it, and
the big franchises.
And there's good and bad to that.
Yep.
On the one hand, you get really good movies. On the other hand, you get a bit of a superhero fatigue, I think, might be beginning to set in. Although every time I say that, then
there's 5 more.
A new one comes out and it makes more money than any movie has ever made in the past.
Yeah. But folks, we loved shining a light on some of these, because obviously some of these I'm pretty sure you had no idea existed, and then others you might have go, oh yeah, I remember that. But yeah, as we said, these were the little trains that couldn't.
And if I had to pick one to recommend, it would probably be 3 Dev Adam. If you feel like watching a Turkish movie with subtitles.
Sure, and the 3 Fantastic Superman movies are a lot of fun.
Yes.
They really are. And for laughs, the Nick Fury movie is entertainingly campy and bad.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
But again, folks, we feel that you, our listeners, are the superheroes, because we want to pat ourselves on the back for a minute here. The podcast is doing very well, and we couldn't do it without you, without listeners. And then also, again, it only takes about 20-30 seconds when you can go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and even a good review. It really helps us.
It really helps a lot.
And in fact, our listener Steve, we really appreciate this. We want to read to you a quick review he gave us. This is from Steve. On May 3rd, he wrote, "The most enjoyable time you'll spend all week. These guys have a wealth of knowledge and just have a blast doing the show. Entertaining and informative, and will give you ample info to fill up your watch list for some time to come." And boy, we really appreciate that. And you know what? He's right. We do have a blast doing this show.
By the way, I wanted to say that I made a mistake last time. I'm very, very
Is this a mea culpa?
A mea culpa. I said that Erich von Stroheim was in Rules of the Game, the Jean Renoir's Rules of the Game. Of course, I meant he was in Jean Renoir's Grand Illusion.
All right. That's for that. Wait, I'm sorry. Because it's French, we do 2.
It was German, though. Oh, well, it's a French movie.
Yeah, Jean Renoir.
Yeah.
See,
okay.
wait.
Oh, man. Well,
You just
Erich
wait,
von Stroheim is
I'm starting to
German.
think you're liking this, so I'm not going to keep doing it. And we hope you have a blast listening. And we could not do it with our audio engineer and musician extraordinaire Dan Radlauer, who puts up with us and
who composed the wonderful theme. Theme.
But when I come over here with my stack of movies, he looks at me sometimes like, Mark, please get the help you so desperately need. His dog Butters looks at me like, what the heck? And don't worry, Butters, we're going to do some great dog movies down the line, too.
We will. Twitter, when we're on Twitter at Film Freaks Forever.
Please, folks. But listen, at Twitter, it's at Film Freaks, the numeral 4. The number 4, and then ever. So Film Freaks Forever.
Instagram, Film Freaks Forever.
Instagram and Twitter.
And Twitter.
And then we're just on Facebook. You just type in Film Freaks Forever, and you can find us on Facebook.
And you can review us there, too.
And give us a like there. And listen, we also have to thank the Writer's Bone Podcast Network.
Yes.
They are our papas. And Daniel Ford and Sean Tui, thanks for everything and your support. And we had so much fun doing this, and we can't wait to bring you even more Film Freaks Forever.
Holy understatements, Batman.